Hello and welcome back to the front, the dusty front. We all have bronchitis after spending the last 24 hours playing this awesome game. And we did an 8-hour countdown stream the other night where we attempted to resist a 4 times size base and level 10 difficulty. And we learned some hard lessons about both of the enemies, both the mutants and the rebels. Well, tonight we're going to lock in and we're going to finish it on the highest difficulty, the biggest base. And I have a plan. And that plan involves guns. But we're not going to use the creeping barrage. We're just going to limit ourselves to building these Dreadnoughts as a fortification. And then we have to win the map with units. And I have a strategy. So let me show you. Welcome to Dustfront, guys. Hit like and subscribe if you are enjoying this content. Alright, we're going in hot. So, pretty much, I think the most economical thing is to bring all Dreadnoughts with your reinforcements, and then some of these rocket launchers in the first wave. But one of the things that makes or breaks the run at this difficulty is the Hornets. If you don't have any form of anti-air up before they attack, then you're going to get wasted. So I'm trying to figure out what the best value for money is. And I'm pretty sure that the reinforcements also don't count towards your supply cap. So it's in your best interest to bring these Dreadnoughts because you're going to need them. And you don't really want them eating into supply cap. So yeah, make sure we've got max parts, max difficulty, max base. So I'm bringing armored cars because I feel like that is the way to counter the Hornets in like the third wave. Now, and also a little bit of RNG plays into how successful you'll be on a run. If you've got a terrible spawn position with no cover and no resources, then you may as well scrub and try again. This looks like a pretty good one. We've got heaps of resources, and in fact, it looks like we have the majority of them on our side of the map. It also looks like we have a bit of a choke point where we can split the attackers. G'day Flick, thanks for joining us. And we have to have some form of cover and spotting for these things, or they're useless. If you're not happy with the deployment, reset it and try again. Don't settle for less than the best. So we have to take the map with units. These Dreadnoughts will just be our defensive. But I plan on leveraging their power, and I will show you how later. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing. And I think it'll be the key to winning these maps. I'm not in a rush, so we're not trying to do this as fast as possible. We're trying to be successful. Having this city around here is perfect for the early game. You want to start I just bring in all the drop troops. When you fight the mutants, you have an advantage with your air power. They only seem to have AA in their base. So you can watch their forces with impunity. I also find it wise to eliminate as much of the base as you can before the first waves start coming. If you can get rid of a few factories, then that will lessen the power of their attacks. Good morning, Fred. Welcome, mate. You need to have 2 production zones at least, processing plants. Now, we didn't see much in the way of choke points or terrain, but I've noticed that a lot of the buildings, especially these pipes, can be destroyed in the center there to form a barricade. So it's in your best interest to destroy them if you want to funnel the enemy towards your base, and then try not to destroy the remnants or the ruins. Oh, those guys got crumped. Just trying to get them into the building. I like to spend early points on these infantry dropships. And don't neglect your call-ins. As soon as you've got a charge there to spend, do it. Otherwise, you're wasting your support powers. It charges with kills, but it doesn't have any overlap. So if it's fully charged, you're just wasting kills if you're not spending that point. And you can stack up heaps of support powers by just enduring the early waves. So I'm getting out an early AK, and I'm not bothering with building units, only calling reinforcements and using the spawns from them, MCV. And I'm going to spend my early supply on those anti-air turrets. So my plan to counter the Hornet swarms is to use the interceptors, a couple of the AK turrets, and then the reinforcements that have the armored cars, which are anti-aircraft vehicles. These ones here. So we'll bring them out now, and we'll set up the other Dreadnoughts in a firing line. I'm also going to try to make use of trenches, but at this difficulty I find that they just get destroyed too quickly, and they're a little bit hard to manage in terms of they take away a lot of your attention while you're trying to build them. The building zones can be a little bit finicky finding the right place to be able to fit a building. So I am going to allow myself to pause it to find the right place to build something. Otherwise I find it slows me right down, especially around mineral patches. I think it needs to be a little bit freer with how close you can build. The siren, the flashing light, is when any of your buildings or bases are taking damage. We thought it was when the collector was full, but it's not. Oh, those tentacles are so good against infantry. They just slap the ground and kill everything. Supply depots can be useful for spreading out influence just a small amount. So my early support powers are spent on dropships and interceptors. As long as you keep the interceptors away from the anti-aircraft emplacements, they tend to last a long time. And it's good to have a fleet of them up when the Hornet swarms arrive. Most certainly need flamethrower turrets along the line just to kill all of the worms and all of the nasty buggers that come flying over the hill. Repositioning this gun. This will be their first real attack. reposition the MCV once the crane's down. I think it's pretty worthwhile spending a lot of resources getting cranes down, so that you just have the ability to build the things that you need in mass when you need it. So we will put down a trench line here. Got a nice little choke point on the left. And just bring the infantry in by dropship. Save supply, you get manpower, and we can watch this flank. Not ideal placement, but we need to get flank defense down. We're very close to the map edge. I would say definitely my new favorite RTS. I can't wait till it has a strategy layer. And I'm just curious to see whether, if everyone can beat it at this level, will they up the ante and make it even harder? The most difficulty comes from the first 10 to 15 minutes. Then once you have a foothold, and as long as you are able to secure a source of resources in the end game, whether that be by hoarding whatever's available, or by going all in on material processes, which you need about, if you get 4, it's pretty much set. But we discovered the hard way the other night that if they explode, they do it violently and they take out everything around them. And then they have fire there for ages. So you got to be really careful where you place them. Can't quite get this crane in here. We have all these buildings for cover, but it's also limiting what we can do in terms of placement. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, it took me some time to get used to going back over to the arrow keys only. I've never really been a middle mouse mover, so that doesn't really suit my playstyle. But I'm also like a map edge mover, so I tend to use my mouse to move the map around. But I do find it hard to manage hotkeys and use the arrow keys and use a mouse. I kind of need a third arm, but I'm not willing to join the mutants to get it. So I have no shame using tactical pause to make sure I'm getting what I need done. The other night we just freeballed it, no tactical pause, and we got obliterated. Make sure to keep spending these points as they become available. The manpower we can bring down with the dropships is invaluable. You get, I think, 6 units and 2 of them are AT soldiers. Remembering to bring the guard from your MCV all the time is free manpower as well. So I would say forego an early barracks and instead focus on a clone production and use those guys as your front line, and then don't build infantry until you're ready to start assaulting. I was trying to figure out how I was supposed to have a starter force and build defensive turrets when the AK-30 uses population, and that's a heavy toll. Like, it uses 20 population to put down an early turret. And the flamethrower just can't fight air units, so it is quite a trade-off. But being able to overcome that by having free infantry in other ways solves that equation. I just couldn't figure it out the other night. And I also didn't see the value in the trench lines when you're fighting at this level because they just get overrun, like I said. Or your own fire destroys them. It's one of those games though that when the equation is solved and it clicks in your mind, it's really enjoyable even at high difficulty. Or even more so at high difficulty. I do wonder if there'll be different types of fights though. Say particular objectives. And I am also curious whether the enemy can actually build more of their base, or whether they're just completely limited. I haven't quite worked out whether they're actually actively building or not. But I don't really have time to work it out when this is going on. But an early Cerberus. So those things will make or break you, because infantry just get mauled by them. But you can kill them with copious amounts of riflemen. Just got to offer them something else to shoot at. Set up repair along the line. Get these guys into the building. I'm pretty sure they have extra vision range when they're in there. The gunners, yes, I found they do work, but they're not effective in their role because they're too busy getting destroyed by everything else. So they're okay against the Hornets when they're in a defensive position, like in a tower here, but not on the assault. In some ways, I would say the rebels are harder because they actively shoot down all of your spotting aircraft, and they also have range. The rebels are certainly the rush faction, so you have to be ready for them. They have assault trucks really early. Very limited building space here. I'm tempted to knock the buildings down. But again, that also, I don't have the firepower. I've got no other soldiers besides our garrisons in the towers. Bring in those Royal Guard. Upgraded siege dreads, I would say they're an upgrade, but they're role changes. They do amazing damage. We're going to make use of them. I'm going to attempt to build a battery of them for indirect fire missions. If you can somehow preserve your rocket launchers to the late game and using those guys as indirect artillery, they just saturate an entire screen with napalm. G'day, Broken Emperor. We are doing just splendidly here. Everyone's got emphysema from all the dust. Silicosis. But the mutants are being held back. All the tentacles have penetrated the base. Trying to free up a construction zone here without having to build a crane, but it's looking like it's inevitable. I want to set up a mining operation here so we can strip all that out and then use it as build area. A couple of forges here so we can upgrade the generators en masse. There's fire everywhere. It's friendly fire though, it's keeping us safe. contemplating using bunkers, but again, they're expensive for what they are. We're going to use 5 of them, I think, at least. I want to set up an artillery battery at the back of our base. But our base looks like it's going to be long, so I don't have the ability to move forward yet. There's one thing I noticed too. You can upgrade your barracks, right? And now you get mass infantry. I knew you could upgrade the barracks, and I knew it gave it a tower, but I didn't realize, and I didn't read the tooltip properly, that it actually doubles the size of your infantry unit, which is priceless. And you can upgrade the war factory so that it changes the armored car to a dedicated anti-aircraft vehicle. You can get a spotter into the field and you have dedicated artillery set aside for the mission, you can attack anywhere on the map with your artillery. That includes the rocket launchers, the Dreads, and the Howitzers. Yes, we can fit it in here. I'm going to double our production, so now we have 4 in total. I've found that if you build more combines than you have processing plants, there starts to be issues with collection. And I was losing economic efficiency the other night when the pathfinding were just conflicting with each other. We need more power. The base must grow. When you're fighting the rebels, you can take their assault trucks by using a repair vehicle to repair the wreck. It'll have a little plus sign over the top of it. You repair the wreck, and then it becomes yours. But the wreck can be destroyed by rogue artillery and other fire. But the other night we had, I think, 6 in our army. I used the Brem to repair them. And then once they're usable again, you bring them back to a crane, and the crane will repair the vehicle for free. I did want to have 2 combines per processing plant, but it just wasn't working the other night. They kept running into each other at the processor and then doing circles around each other. So honestly, I would say you want just processing plant 1 combine for it to be reliable. And if the resources are close to you, then you don't need 2, because their turnaround is pretty quick. For me, this feels like what Tiberium Sun 2 would have been like. Those things are extremely dangerous. You don't realize what they do until the tentacles are getting you. The very first time I did level 10, my dreads were being attacked by those things right at the start. Like that one was. We need more fire. I'd say it's worth building a fair few of these if you're running maximum parts. The damage buff is considerable. You get 30% more damage. You need 6 of the arsenals. And the foundry is very important too once you want to make an attack, because you get 50% durability. We have a sort of commando unit, and I was doing it left-handed the other night. Yeah, I agree, Van. This is how I would imagine the Imperial Guard fighting the Tyranids would be. And the rebels are just chaos cultists. Reinforcements have arrived. Thanks very much for the sub, Lord Hog. Welcome to the stream, mate. Welcome to the front. The dusty front. Beautifully spaced artillery between the towers. Our faithful troopers inside keeping watch. And welcome, Linked. I'm glad you could join us live. Yeah, and we experienced that the other night when they were going around me and flanking me. I was like, what is this? Actively avoiding my defenses to get into the sides of my base. I was like, that's not a Command and Conquer thing. They've evolved. The actual gameplay is very much a nice blend of what Command & Conquer offered, but also Supreme Commander. The unit cycling, the unlimited materials once your eco's up. Very much a Supreme Commander thing. G'day Owen, welcome to the stream, mate. Thanks for joining us. Pumping out some power. Yeah, and they are billions, like just the scale of the enemies, that very much they are billions. But unlike they are billions, you can come back when a single zombie or mutant gets into your base. That was my biggest gripe about that game, is like how pivotal it was to keep the zombies out at all costs. Just one and your whole run is dead. Yeah, they're not brain dead AI. But like I said before, I'm not sure if they're able to expand their base or not, whether they have that capability. G'day Delta, how you going, mate? Welcome. Yeah, like Forever Winter. I've been experimenting with this clone vat, trying to optimize its production and trying to figure out the best way to use them. The key is to build a couple and to keep them close so they don't need their extra auxiliary buildings. Alien Dark Descent, yep, I did a hard playthrough on the channel as episodes. I loved that game when it came out. That was a great game. And it had a horror element, especially in the early game when you were just a useless bunch of green Marines. The story at the end really disappointed me though, without spoiling it for anyone. Yeah, it took away the player agency and just, yeah, it wasn't super satisfying at the end. Yeah, and it was also on console, which is great. It's so hard to get them like a decent RTS experience on a console. And that's what sort of gamer I was for a long time. I remember I had Command & Conquer 64 on my Nintendo 64. That was a chore to play, but it was still Command & Conquer. Oh, so you've watched multiple streams now, and none of the opponents have ever rebuilt or expanded. I had a suspicion that might be the case. But besides the ending, the game was solid all the way through. And then when you get to the end, you're just clapping alien queens like it's nobody's business. like all your Marines were straight out of the Matrix. One tapping Xenos from the other side of the map. Yeah, that was great. Alright, we're going to start getting down the material fabricators. Hello, welcome. Welcome to the front. I hope you got your rebreather. Your lung damage is not service related. That's the Voldemort of RTS. You should not mention its name. If you mention its name, it becomes a real thing. Hey, I was getting my butt kicked the other night too. I really was on stream. The first time we tried it at level 10, I was like, what the heck is going on? But yeah, like I said at the start, if your map is not favorable, it can be just downhill all the way from the start. We've got a really nice sort of divider in the center of our base, which is splitting the enemy. And if I can get some of the production facilities on the left side of the base away, we might be able to funnel them down one side. My concern is they're going to try and flank me. They do have opportunity there to move down from that right side of base and swing around if they want to. AVP Extinction, I think that was also on the console as well. I remember playing that. And you could play as the Terrans, the Aliens, and the Predators, if I'm not mistaken. It was RTS. And each faction had their own way of recruitment. Aliens, of course, needed to kill or stun humans or Predators, and then face-hug them and drag them back to the nest. That was a great game too. Very clunky on a console, but it was fun. Alright, so our clone vats are just producing. You'll notice we still haven't really bothered recruiting anything. But I'm feeling pretty secure now. I'm going to try and fill up these trenches we built at the start. Because any moment or any minute we're going to be overrun by the big hitters. I might try and give us a little bit more space, but in my experience, when you make a move, that's where things go wrong. So be ready to support this movement. I also remember the first-person Alien vs Predator, which had a great campaign that let you play as a facehugger. You had to facehug a dude, and then you had to bite your way out of his chest, and then you had to hide. It was cool. Predator Aliens were the king. I remember when Alien vs Predator, the movie, came out, I was really hyped for that because of my memories of Predator Aliens. I was hoping they would do it justice. But that was a typical fan service movie where they deliberately don't have a winner, because that would offend one of the fans. I'm loath to do it, but we're going to build a crane right near the front line. It even had PvP. I think it was like Unreal Tournament, but you could play as aliens versus Terrans. It was really fun, that first person one. I'll just show you how fiddly it is to try and get a decent trench network down while you're trying to deal with all this crap. Trenches 100% will work on the lower difficulties, but the sheer effort it takes to get them down, and you can upgrade trenches, but you can't do it unless they're inside your construction zone. What I found for the clone vats is to build one with, like you said, not two generators. What do? I do 2 storage and 1 generator, so you can have 30 clones. And then I have another clone generator by itself that has just 3 storage to push it up to 40 cap. So you've got two clone generators that are pumping them out up to 30, and then you've got another one that'll top it up slowly to 40. But this time I'm experimenting with seeing if I can, I'm going to experiment with seeing how cheap we can make infantry using the clone vats. Because they discount a barracks by 5%. So I was thinking if you could attach, say, 6 clone generators to 1 barracks, you'd have very cheap infantry. So I'm using this construction vehicle now to get some trenches down, but just as the enemy waves arrived. So I don't like the trench's chances. We'll try and skip over this trench and set up between our double line. I need more damage. And we also need to start thinking about an army, despite having no population yet. My problem the other night is I was splitting my attention between trying to increase my storage cap, managing my economy, trying to figure out how to increase my supply while I was building an early army. But I think you need to have 2 phases that you go through, where you concentrate on defense and your base only, then worry about units. If you need units, use the free call-ins. So the complector makes units. If you attach a generator to it, it makes them faster. If you attach a storage, it adds 10 to the cap, but the cap is global. So having more complectors will just make them faster up to 10. So I like to attach 2 storage and 1 generator to a complector to make it faster. But you can build them in an arrangement that lets you share buildings between them. So build 2 complectors really close and then a generator nearby, and it will attach to both. So I'm also limiting myself this play to not using these as a walking wall, because that is basically the way to win it guaranteed. Instead, it's these things I'm treating them like they're stationary fortification. We will creep them up just to optimize the layout, but I'm not going to use them to assault. I have a feeling that's the method a lot of people are using, so I'm going to do this with an army. But we still will leverage the power of our artillery. We will just do it via indirect fire. If you didn't see the stream the other night, we unleashed absolute hell on the enemy using snipers and our base defenses. Every single Dreadnought that we had was firing across the map. It was glorious. We had Howitzers, rockets, and these, I'm assuming, 12-inch guns. I can't upgrade this trench. It's difficult, right? So the trench has to be within your construction zone to be able to upgrade it. And that's technically not my construction zone. Because of this construction vehicle. So see there, it's outside the limits of my actual building. And when they're there, they can't be upgraded. But it's the only way I've found to effectively lay trenches without obstructing the rest of your construction plans, or without having to build a crane every 10 meters. When you place them next to a barracks, the barracks gets 5% cheaper. So I'm going to test this playthrough
if I attach a bunch of complectors to a barracks, can we make infantry cheap? And that's how I plan on winning. We've got the infantry squad size upgrade from the barracks to double the size of your infantry. And we're going to do it the hard way. Infantry assault under artillery support. I turned off the voice because I found it to be distracting and because it was sort of just as loud as I was the other night. But it's really good, I like it. And some of our faithful Russian viewers informed me of what was being said, because I don't know Russian. And here's that Hornet swarm that I was warning you about. If you're not ready for this, it will wipe you. It appears to have arrived a bit later than I'm used to. If you have no form of AA, then you're screwed. And that's why I brought the armoured cars in our reinforcement pool. Hey, Rolfagon, thanks for joining us, mate. About 16 inches of pain, yeah. Is that a bit of a glitch there? Oh no, that's what it was. The Cerberus charge. It's probably rendering in all the monsters. Oh, just get a drink while the pause is active. Like I said, I have no shame doing this because I'm not really a hotkey player. Well, I'm not there yet anyway, not with this game. Yeah, you can move it to the front line. It is risky. I actually prefer to use the construction vehicle instead. It's got a smaller build range, but you only need to deploy it and then plop down a crane, and then you've got an MCV. It's funny because I also played another game the other day called Iron Nest, which was a walking artillery piece. So yeah, there's definitely a trend going on. Everyone's craving giant guns on land, which is formerly the purview of naval forces. We've lost all of our front line there of dreads. This is actually an emergency. I've been distracted. The Hornets managed to take down our dreads anyway. So that's what will kill you. The Hornets have free reign over the dreads and they kill them quite quickly. It might have even been the Tentacles in the back line, I wasn't sure. Starship Troopers Terran Command, I've played heaps of that and I've got heaps of content of it on my channel. I've played all the campaigns except the Burning Planet one. I really liked the Police DLC, and I have covered a couple of the upgrades that when they added the... I can't remember what the name of the mode is. It's like planetary domination mode. I felt like that is a very solid tower defense game with elements of Company of Heroes without the cover so much. But I really liked the units. When it first came out, it was extremely annoying with the Scorpions, but they dialed those down. So I finished the whole thing on brutal, so it was enjoyable. So yeah, check out some of that content if you like. I've played pretty much all the recent RTS and strategy games. There's been some strong contenders for memorable. Let's get back to shoring up these defenses. We're actually going to construct our first batch of homemade dreads before we start constructing any other units. We do need some more warehouses. We're very limited for space. These large warehouses are great for supply cap. They do cost parts, but they save you so much micro trying to put down outposts. Oh, I reckon a map editor would be great. Yeah, the police DLC was amazing. I loved it. There was one mission where you had to hold the bridge, and on brutal, it actually felt like I was in trouble. It felt like a movie experience. In a mental level, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, holy crap, can we hold out? We're just a police force, god damn it. I guess the greatest thing is this is just a combat demo. So we really don't know what else is in store in terms of... I saw some screen grabs of technology and some other units. Like a land battleship, flamethrower tank. Oh, your mate made that mod, did he? Oh, cool. Small world. Yeah, the resource placement can make or break one of these high difficulty runs. We had a couple of games the other night where we got really bad spawns with no cover, no resources. And the resources that were available were heavily contested. And so in a way they were lost from the beginning. I'll show you. Pretty soon they're going to scale up their attacks. And at that point, that's when we're actually going to start earning a lot of a lot of support points. And once we start earning support points, I will be able to push out with a contingent of infantry and light vehicles and start pushing back their production from away from the base, which will then increase the time between attacks slightly. I'm actually confident that we can win this now. Like I said, the Wasp wave and the first Cerberus waves are the make or breakers. And as long as you don't have an exposed flank, we should be good. I'm going to put down more AKs because the Wasps do become a constant threat now. In some ways I find the Mutants easier, like I said, because I can keep aerial overwatch on them and my guns can fire at max range. I found against the Rebels they were shooting down my spotter planes and then making it to within gun, like their own gun range, before my turrets could actively fight them. And then any infantry or whatever we had on the field were just getting chewed, so we couldn't have forward observers. So we're going to keep this trench vehicle running along the front. But it looks like a good deal of my trenches in the center there were destroyed. More Wasps. Not for defense. No. Like, they do massive damage, but I feel like the rate of fire and the RPM, rounds per minute, of the other defenses is superior. The Howitzer kills what it shoots at. But I found that the best way to use them is as indirect fire with spotters. And speaking of that, we'll start thinking about doing that. So that whole line of trenches we built is already destroyed before I could get it ready for combat. I'm going to destroy the ruins. There needs to be an order that lets you clear the ruins.
trying to move forward, but it's a bit dangerous. Our first homemade Dreadnoughts are ready. G'day Virgil, how you going, mate? It does seem insurmountable, and I think we still have some ways to go before we actually win. And when I say some ways, I'm estimating probably another hour and a half. But we're starting to build our own counterfire now. I just need to make room with supply. Yeah, 100% need a recycling vehicle. I would like to see something like Yuri's Revenge that had the grinder. We could just drive vehicles into it and just shred them. Yeah, the repair vehicle needs a second mode, or it needs the ability to repair without you giving an order. It's just not worth it in terms of how much of your attention it requires. So I only build the Brems to repair turrets that have fallen, or if we're fighting rebels, to try and salvage their vehicles. Otherwise, it's much better to pack up your Dreadnought and just drive it into a crane's area of effect than it is to repair it. It's certainly blending the best of everything we've played. Like I said, I really want to get my hands on the strategy layer. I see like a campaign going for like 6 months. If one battle's like 3 hours at this level. Unfortunately, our Dreadnoughts, we did lose a couple. Not recoverable. Damn. I needed this thing to move out of the way, but it blew up. It's going to be great for they're stacking up an attack here. Let's bring in the airstrikes. Oh, there's currently a map event too where there's orbital debris raining down on the battlefield, and the other night we had some orbital debris land in our material processors and blow them up, and half the base was on fire. Pure RNG bullcrap. And there was another event with acid rain. I was like, why are all my guys just dying? They're just melting, and yeah, it was acid rain. The view, you can change it at will. You can zoom in, you can rotate. It's 3D. I'm just doing it old school because I want to win. So I squared up the map so that I can build a straight base. So you can sort of adjust the battlefield to your liking. So we add a power plant to this, it will create clones faster. It's just coincidence that it's being attached to that complector because I'm building a row of power plants. There's the power of having a million cranes. You can just build half a base in 1 second. So I've built myself a small armor force just in case things go wrong. Uh-oh. One of our reinforcement dreads spawned between the power plants. Oh, now we have to destroy the rubble too to get them out. Right, we've converted a couple of our dreads to Howitzers. They will
provide defensive fire at the moment, but I'm going to set them up a zone that's dedicated artillery battery. Yeah, see, I just rotate there. I can zoom in, but I really want to win today. The other night I got too focused on doing what chat wanted. That was a huge stream for us though. Biggest I've ever had those 2 days. So welcome to everyone that is new. GLA are an iconic faction that you probably couldn't make today. They just went all in on the parody. Yeah, replay feature would be great because I could just make some awesome videos of my epic battles. Because I love doing that with my content. And I'll always gravitate towards games where I can sort of make my own little war videos. Mouse wheel for me. And you have to hold Alt, the Alt key, and zoom in. And the same for rotate. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why that happens. In terms of, like, and they weren't just a they were a parody in terms of their theme, but they were a well-made faction in terms of RTS. They were fun to play. They were off the wall. They had tactics that were vastly different to the other factions. I loved Generals just for how asymmetric it was. There was nothing like throwing a whole bunch of motorcyclists over a sand dune into the back of someone's base and just having C4 dudes coming in and trucks. Yeah, it was fun. They were a great faction. All of the factions were a parody of their respective nations. The Brotherhood of Nod had left an indelible mark on my personality. Kane lives. There was, like, the GDI were a cool faction, but like you say, Nod just had the spirit of Command & Conquer. I was devastated when Generals 2 didn't happen. It was going to use the Frostbite engine, you know, fresh from fame of Battlefield, and it just never happened. They elected to do a bloody mobile game instead. A lot of people like Red Alert 3, and I enjoyed playing it, but I didn't think it was the best of the series. I actually didn't really like the whole hybrid unit thing. But I did see why people enjoyed it. But in terms of all the videos and movie clips and stuff that came out of Red Alert 3, they're gold. They'll be meme worthy for generations to come. Yeah, they were going to do something really weird with it, so in a way, maybe we're lucky it didn't get made. Otherwise, we might despise it just as much as we do despise the other unmentionable game. I'm going to take out some of these production facilities.
Yeah, so the plan is to advance on foot with artillery support directed by our spotters. I'm currently trying to build an artillery battery of about 4 to 5 howitzers. I just need some more supply cap, and I'm throwing away my army so I can get that supply cap back. If you put all your war factories in a line, the ones in the middle get up to 20% discount on units. So I recommend building at least 4 to 5 of them in a line. Legend of Total War has no place on the dust front. I'm the captain now. I'm the commander now. It's giving me a taste to play all of the RTS in my library. All of my favorites, because it's just got elements of everything. And I think, dare say, it's been blended really well. Fix up the Dreadnoughts. And let's put some effort into this artillery battery. I've got a few more Dreadnoughts coming out. And then I'll also have to spend some real effort expanding supply, because 600 supply has already been used up by most of our Dreadnoughts. Yeah, the futuristic faction has me scared. I don't like factions that can shoot back. They look like a mix of Protoss and Scrin. Thanks, man. We're gonna doom stack. We're gonna doom stack infantry and probably have a wall of molots. The wall of molots is very satisfying. Here comes the charge. We're very blessed with our map layout. This sort of large bulwark facility north of our base is really funneling them right into my gun line. No, the reinforcements don't use supplies, but I've used all my reinforcements now, so everything going forward is going to be based on effort. I've seen some recommendations to build copious amounts of the small warehouse, and I've built some of them in an effort to save parts, but I have a feeling that that's probably not the right way to go, because your base units can win the fight for you if you have enough of them. So I would actually prefer to spend the parts on the large warehouse and have more troops on the field than worrying about trying to get so many Dreadnoughts out. I'm just going to build a line of them to secure the base, and then we're gonna do it the old-fashioned way. We're not gonna live forever. We're gonna do our part to take down the Mutant. And so I'm going to spend these airstrikes whenever we can. As they keep throwing Cerberus at us, we're going to start really earning ourselves support powers. And like, this is a solid demo. Being able, I've replayed it. I think I've spent, what, 25 hours playing this now? That's a great demo, you know what I mean? I've played demos that are done in 10 minutes and you couldn't replay them if you wanted to because there's no substance to it. But just giving me the ability to just ramp up the difficulty and actually get some challenge out of a demo is great. It reminds me of that old-fashioned, you know, you get a disc on your attached to your magazine from the PC Gamer. It had a heap of cool demos on it.
I kind of really don't enjoy the new model of trying to funnel people into wish listing by giving them like a set piece for a demo. Yeah, and there's like no 45-minute timer, you know. Oh, all right, that's all the demo. Have a good day. No, just let me finish what I'm doing. And I think the companies are starting to catch on that letting us sample ourselves is the best way, whether we're going to buy a game or not. They've pumped all the fake marketing crap at us for too long, and we just don't trust them anymore. Oh, you cannot get more cog resource. The parts resource is simulating your empire on the strategic map and how much ability it has to send logistics and support your way on the battlefield. So by having 5,000 parts, we're simulating probably having a fairly strong empire. If I didn't bring any parts, you'd be running like, you know, tier 1 infantry and stuff like that. So yeah, that's just to simulate, and it will probably be the resource that's earned on the strategic layer. G'day mate, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the Dust Front. Make sure you've got your mask. Trying to figure out what I'm going to do here with warehouses. We're very tight. We could blow up all the skyscrapers to make some more room, but I think that's a waste of time. Yeah, it would be very hard, because you would only be able to rely on your reinforcement dreadnoughts if you chose to bring those, and you'd be very limited in how many foundries and armories you can get out, and those directly increase your combat power. You know, the big meatballs are actually really dangerous if you don't finish them off. If you blow them up but don't destroy the corpse, they just start spawning flies like it's, you know, ranch day in Australia. Fucking flies everywhere. They talk about the emu war all the time, but it's actually the fly war that we're constantly waging. Oh yeah, and the jump from 2 to 2.5 is even more of a shell shock. I blitzed at 1.5, so I went, oh, okay, I'll put it up to 2.5, and I was getting my butt handed to me. It all happened live, so I'm not ashamed to say it. But I just wasn't ready for that scale, like power spike. It's certainly not a linear scale. I don't think the cranes are that expensive. I think they're very, very useful, and they're worth 50 cogs, I think. You just have to place them right. I was trying to catchphrase that the other night on the hype stream. What did someone call it? Command and Conquer Bronchitis or something like that. Expand and Conquer Bronchitis. I lived in the outback for a good while. Yeah, I know the fight with the flies. You know when a road train's coming into town because the flies that precede it. You can place trenches, and you can upgrade the trench to be a bunker. You can also place more hardened structures, like a pillbox. Well, I would say the trench is a pillbox, and the bunker is a bunker. Yeah, the other night everyone was like, build the trenches! Cue the Ramstein and build some trenches. We're going to Krieg. But I was vehemently against it. I was like, guys, the trenches, they're so shit. They're gonna get us killed. Well, we're just digging our own grave. We're not building protection. But certainly on the lower difficulties, the trenches are useful, just not at this scale. The Cerberus guys, for example, will blast a trench and it will die in one shot. Yeah, the AK-30s can be moved. That's why I think they cost supply, because they're treated like a unit. Okay, we have an artillery battery now. Let's set it up. We just need some space reserved for it. There's some similarities between this faction and the bad guys in Tempest Rising. That Soviet-esque military-industrial complex. How big we want to make this battery? Big. Let's make it a 5-gun battery. That'll be a decent salvo. Yes, you can, but they have to be deployed to fire. They don't shoot at all while packed up. Well, not that I've seen anyway. So yeah, maybe that's, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I just haven't ever seen one shoot while I was driving. Yeah, so there are 2 units that you can gain access to by upgrading the production vehicles building. Upgrade the machine shop to get a new type of AA that replaces the armored car, and upgrade the barracks to get mass infantry. How big there's no limit to how big your army can be, you just need to build the supply. I've seen that someone attempted 30,000. You know that whole double it and give it to someone else? That's what I want for the difficulty. This is difficulty 10. We're playing max difficulty, max base size. Yeah, just double the map size too. How do you upgrade the buildings? You click on it the same way you can upgrade these howitzers, and there's a little button down near that green cross that lets you upgrade it. So just there, little key icon on the machine shop. I'll do it later. Oh, I only really need one of them to be upgraded to build that particular vehicle. So there's the new artillery, the new AA vehicle. That's basically a mounted ZSU, I think. I can't tell you what we're going to get to play, unfortunately. I'm not privy to any extra information. I wish I did, but I will keep my ear to the ground for certain. It's just a shame it's going to go away in a week. I'm almost tempted to install it on my other PC and then disconnect it from Steam so I can keep it for an extra week. I missed it for a long time too, and it was just through trial and error that I discovered it. Like, I discovered the barracks upgrade, but I didn't even notice that it upgraded my infantry too until later on. Like, I read the tooltip, but I don't know why it didn't make sense to me. But that's cool. I like the discovery. I would like to learn it myself. I'm not into overly intrusive tutorials, unless it's required to teach you something complex. I don't know how it's going to work, to be honest. In my experience, these demos do go away. From my understanding of it is, the next fest is like a bit of a competition, and Steam measures how much something is played, and then rewards the developer with like front page status when their game is released, because it's got metrics on how good the game is going to go. It's really weird how shit works these days. So that's why developers really push you to wishlist and to play their demos, because all those metrics are tracked by Steam, and then Steam gets a sense of what the game's worth to them. Sometimes a developer will leave the demo attached, but most of the time that happens when the demo is linked to the store page. And in this case, it's a separate thing. So I have a feeling that this will go away and it will only be here for the next fest. So if you have the time, play it while you can. And what are my thoughts on a campaign? Yes. Yes, I want a campaign. Yes, I want it to be good. And yes, I will play the shit out of it if it's good. If it's anything like Dawn of War, Soulstorm, and that sort of thing, that'll satisfy me. But I'm interested to experience something new too, so I hope he's got something up his sleeve. Deserts of Karak, we recently played that on stream. That was a great game. Highly underrated game. People that have played it love it. People that don't know what it is will love it when they see what it's about. It's basically Homeworld, but made easier because it's 2D, and it's a great first step into the Homeworld series itself. I played Deserts of Karak and then I just went, shit, I've got to play all the Homeworlds now. And we played all 3 in a row. My only gripe with Deserts of Karak is that it wasn't long enough, and they didn't have a roguelite survival mode where you could just drive around from point to point on the planet just trying to survive. The interesting thing about that game is it actually wasn't even going to be a Homeworld game initially. It was going to be a ship-breaking game about just trying to survive on the planet, but it was co-opted into Homeworld. And then a lot of the art assets that were used in that game for the ships and the derelicts were then used in the game Hard Space Shipbreaker. And because I'm a huge naval buff, so I enjoyed the concept of aircraft carriers dueling it out on the open desert. The 3 Homeworlds. I'm going to cut against the grain and say that I enjoyed the gameplay of Homeworld 3. I just didn't enjoy the storyline, and again, the game was just too damn short for what it offered. Like, if it had a solid multiplayer or a solid skirmish with all the factions available, it might have been good. And then the roguelite mode was just a real shoe-in. It had potential to be really fun, but it was only 3 missions long, so what kind of progression can you unlock in 3 missions? Nothing. I'm not going to fall in love with my fleet in 3 missions. I don't even care who these guys are. This game feels like Supreme Commander with the control interface of Command & Conquer. And speaking of the Higarans, you know that those guys are not the good guys, right? They did something so terrible, so absolutely monstrous, that they deserved to be exiled, in my view. They fully, gained access to alien technology without telling anyone, and then used that to completely exterminatus their enemy's home world. So brutal was the Exterminatus that the Emperor just died instantly in the first barrage. Jumped behind enemy lines and completely obliterated their foe. Simply because they knew that they were going to be subsumed by the Empire eventually, just due to the way that they were placed in the galaxy. Oh, I'm excited for Dawn of War 4. I reached out to the developers the other day and they were like, fuck off. Sorry, not helping you. So yeah, I'll be buying that and playing that when it comes out. I hope it fixes what Dawn of War 3 broke. Tydan sympathizers in the chat, rise up. I have played High Fleet, just going back to your other question, mate. I started playing it, but it was before I really was anything. And so I stopped making the content and I just finished the campaign because it wasn't getting many views. But the review was really successful and I really liked High Fleet. It didn't treat me like an idiot. And it was quite challenging. And it was basically a naval simulator. What is the agenda here? I'm building a large artillery battery, saving up my support powers, and I'm going to start encroaching out of the base. But I'm not going to use the artillery creep to take the map. I'm almost ready. I'm just building another lot of Dreadnoughts, which I'm going to convert into Howitzers, and we're going to have a second artillery battery. I need to shore up the line here, actually. It's almost finished. I'm just not leaving anything to chance before we make the assault. I'm not trying to rush to win. I'm not interested in speed records. I'm trying to nail down my doctrine. I want to nail down the muscle memory. I want to see what defensive lines work the best. And I'm going to now experiment with this complector thing. I'm going to build a bunch of barracks and then attach clone vats to them. See how cheap we can make infantry from them. These center war factories here are 20% cheaper for units, so you make your most expensive from them. And the ones on the wing are 10% cheaper. We're going to use the arty just at long range. And it is danger close, so once your spotter's designated the target, don't be in the area. There's no precision. Just munitions. Okay, we're going to look for factories and try and lower their production capacity. We lost the fighter, that's unfortunate. Heavy bomber coming in, 2 strafes. Just so you know, you can also move the strike zone of your bomber before it arrives. You can't change the angle once it's deployed, but you can reposition the strike. We've got the brutes out here as a mean shield. Okay, if we add the complector, each of those barracks will be 5% cheaper. If we add another one, exit's blocked. Ah, it's the exit to the barracks. Damn. And we can't link the other 3 up. I'll have to come up with another arrangement. I'll destroy this ruin. Hopefully... Yeah, that wasn't a smart idea. But it was effective. So I have to now destroy the ruin of the building that was next to the ruin I was trying to destroy. You can rotate buildings, but it's a little bit restrictive in where you can place them. So I'm trying to keep all the same buildings in the same orientation. Looking for a target of opportunity, nothing presenting itself. Now we're 90 minutes in, almost, and we are safe, largely. So my plan is to use most of my cogs that are left to build warehouses. I will build a few more Dreadnoughts, but there are no Dreadnoughts going on our assault tonight, guys. I've designated those as a fixed gun position. I feel like everyone's doing that, and I don't want to be like everyone. Yeah, the cogs are the strategic resource, so it's simulating how much your empire is able to shift towards this battle, and I don't mind that. I think 5,000 is a great amount. When I played the 4 times base on 2 difficulty and we won that the other night, I only did it with like 1,000 parts. And yeah, I forgot that you could increase them. And so we had to win that with just the Molots. All the Molots that I could find. Pull them all out of the surplus. Am I thinking about making a battle mech? Can you make battle mechs? $5,000, which is what we brought. So in terms of the most difficult run you could do, this is not the most difficult. You could do it without cogs, but good luck to you. Your starting dreads will have to hold the line the entire game. Alright. Looks like a pretty decent defensive line. I think we'll be able to keep our barracks of that safe. Yeah, they're meat mechs. 100% meat mech. It's been given the Doom 3 treatment. Oh, we're taking damage. Damn right we're taking damage. Here they come. Those guys in the trench would be elite by now. There is unit veterancy, but you don't see them last very long once they're out of their garrison, that's for sure. The spotter's ability applies to the Dreadnoughts on the front line, the Howitzers, and the MLRS, yes. So if you put all 3 in guard mode, every single unit on your defensive line can shoot. And we were doing that the other night. We had our whole front line firing across the map. It was glorious. We were saying, shake it, baby. We did it left-handed. all the lines. Fire does clean all sins, especially when it's your enemy's sins. I believe we've got 5 and we're about to do the arsenals up. We've got 5 foundries already, I think. That was in the plan anyway. But we're starting to save up our heavy airstrikes now. Once I get sight of enemy factories, I'm just going to call in a wave of bombers. Need more materials. I need for my income to outpace the cost of production. I'm going to aim for about 2,000 supply. But like I said, we're just getting started, guys. We're going to grind them to dust. Now this wave being sent out here to die so we can free up some supply cap. Okay, so this middle one here is 15% cheaper, but I couldn't get them on the other side, so I'll have to figure it out. You're having difficulty understanding and playing this game. Is there any issue? What's your issue particularly? Is just a bit too much going on? I'll try and put it plainly. Your goal at the start is to set up a defensive position and secure it by securing local resources, and then basically all about defense. Don't worry about units. Units are a trap, I believe, especially when you're just learning. I will have more silos, yes, eventually. I'm going to aim for about 6,000 supply cap, 6,000 resource cap, and then 2,000 supply cap. I have enough cogs left to be able to do that. This tank wiped out, unfortunately. You can get a land battleship. It will be in it. I've seen the screen cap of the unit card. Unfortunately, it does need other buildings, which are not present in the demo. So there will be more to the base as well, from what I've seen. There's going to be flamethrower tanks. Yeah, I wonder if there will be support for the game filter. You know, with if you've got a NVIDIA card, you can use game filters. I do that when I play things like War Thunder, just to make it look a bit more realistic. Yeah, there is a building that generates supplies, the material fabricator. We were going to aim for about 5 or 6 of those in total. And that will give us 20 to 30 resources a second. You're a C&C player, Age of Empires and Stronghold player. You boot this up and did not understand a thing. Okay, well, I would assume that being Command & Conquer, it was a little bit familiar to you. So in Command & Conquer, you know, it's all about getting that early economy up and defending yourself against rushes. Yeah, I would say that if you've never played something like Supreme Commander was this, but it's not necessarily tower defense, it's horde against horde. So at the moment, the most optimal way to play is to turtle and tower defense. But you can absolutely play this aggressively, running assaults rather than just defense. It's just that at max difficulty, your options are pretty much limited to defense. And once it clicks in your mind, it will all make sense. No, all the races are not playable in the demo. So in Supreme Commander, if you were playing against another human, you would absolutely be both sending this many units at each other. Just constantly being produced by your factories, constantly waypointed to the enemy's front lines. And it basically becomes 2 games within one, because your armies become automated, your production becomes automated, and then you start putting together sort of special ops missions, trying to either assassinate the enemy's commander or take out a section of his economy to take away his ability to have that front line. It's a really, really interesting concept that if you haven't played it, probably won't make sense until you understand the way it works. And yes, Crush, Kill and Destroy. That is a game that I haven't heard the name mentioned in a long time, but it is one of the earliest RTS. But there was always a subset of players in Command and Conquer and StarCraft that were all about tower defense. Like, no matter what you told them about it being real-time strategy, they wanted to play it as tower defense, and they would tower creep you into oblivion. I still remember the very first time I ran into a wall of Terran siege tanks in StarCraft and went, "You've got to be kidding me. Is that the whole population?" Yeah, for me, I was like I'm going all Factorio like. The base must grow. We need more power. We must produce more. And for those of you that are finding it difficult in terms of how much is going on, just try to focus on one thing at a time and make liberal use of the tactical pause. Honestly, there's no shame in pausing for a minute to figure out what you're going to build. Don't let the multiplayer RTS fans, don't let them convince you that there's anything wrong with that. There are guys out there that have got excellent ability to do things really quickly and read the situation and act, but that's not everyone. I don't need no more defenses. I think we're all good for that. The enemy waves are not making any effect on our defenses. So I'm going to send another probe out to try and secure one of those resource nodes, one of those capture points. I used to build this big in Command & Conquer when I was playing like me versus 8 computers. I have a feeling that you will need to build infrastructure to earn parts. You should never. I don't think we will ever consider cogs to be replenishable on the battlefield, and it'll be all about how you've managed your empire. Otherwise, there's no reason for all the strategy layer, if that makes sense. And I think parts will be the way that makes it seem real on a tactical level. If I decide to spend all of this week's parts on one pivotal battle that's pushing into one of my really precious zones, then I think that in the next battle, I wouldn't have any parts, and so then I need to fight with limited access. I think that's how the game is going to really make things feel like they matter. But everyone's just mentioning all the best games. Act of Aggression, wasn't that an awesome game? I loved taking prisoners in that game. Oh, you mean more variety to the defenses? Yeah, I see that, yeah. Yeah, the flamethrowers are the only defensive building that actually doesn't cost supply. Like I said at the start, I would recommend not building an army at the start. Just use your dropship call-ins and your MCV troops, and use the population cap you've got for a couple of AK towers, which will help you live against the wasps. Oh, for a quick play game. Yeah, that makes sense. I have a feeling that in skirmish it probably won't matter. It won't need parts, just build what you want. Set on the tech level, maybe. Oh, that's a wall of Cerberus. Are we ready, boys? Load those cannons. No, there's no building giving me parts. I've got buildings giving me materials. That's it. So we are starting to run low on parts, but I'm almost ready. I'm just trying to kite these Cerberus away from the line, so we've got some time to shoot at them. And they're going for the bait. I'm not going to be upgrading my front line to the Howitzers. I've built a dedicated fire battery, and that's what's going to do it. I'm going to aim for about 9, and I'll have 9 dedicated Howitzers for fire support. I prefer the RPM of the standard Dreadnought. But there we go, we've got 5 of them set up. So nothing is going to threaten that central portion of the base. I have set a trench line. So much active aggression. I played heaps of Red Alert 2. So for me it was the Desolator from, I think it was the Libyans had a Desolator unit. Desolator ready. I promise you we've got a pretty solid trench line. The central portion of our trench got destroyed, but there is the remainder of it. And by the time the trench vehicle got across the whole line building it, half of it was destroyed. So yeah, at this level I wouldn't recommend the trenches, but I'll keep doing it anyway. Just for the aesthetics. I'm not going to move the howitzer dreads because we're going to use the spotters to shoot wherever we want on the map. Their whole purpose is to be our artillery support, and they will give it. They will absolutely give it. It will be worth it, trust me, boys. Trust me. Our Desolator was Iraq, and it was the Libyans that had the nuke truck. Yeah, equally effective. I'm not advancing with my base. The battle plan is to set a rigid line, like the Maginot line, and then we're going to destroy the bugs and the mutants with a standing army. I feel like bunkers are more viable than the trenches, but I think the civilian buildings trump the bunkers. If you've got skyscrapers, don't bother with bunkers. If you've got no cover in your spawn zone, use bunkers. The range, the howitzers can fire across the entire map. A wave of bombers coming in here to try and slow down their production. They sure can. They sure can. There's a method to it. You have to set and designate an artillery unit to do it. But theoretically, you can make your whole front line shoot across the entire map. And we did it in my last stream. I should probably make a short to show everyone. But you're going to see it here tonight. And this is like a super upgraded version of what the I can't remember the name of the unit. It might have been the sniper in StarCraft, could do that as well for siege tanks. But it was nowhere near as effective as what this will be. Do I use the repair zone vehicles from the MCV? Not particularly, no. I use the cranes to repair my vehicles if I can. Yeah, the artillery support is what's going to win us this battle with ground troops, without needing to bring them to the front. The aliens are all being toasted, brothers. I'm sorry, but we suffer not the Xeno to live. Oh, you mean the other aliens? Yeah, they tease us in the menu, that's about it. If you look in the menu, there's a video playing in the background of it, and you can see them for a brief moment lasering some dudes. No one truly knows that as far as I'm aware. I really hope it's the case, because they are, like, it looks to me like the other faction is pretty fleshed out, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, Napoleon Bonaparte. God's on the side with the most artillery. Yeah. I was like, oh man, we don't get super weapons. That sucks, I wish I had a super weapon. And then I found my own super weapon. The grand artillery indeed shall be grand. So our wall of brutes, free infantry, just there as a meat shield for our tanks to try and clear out this zone. Yeah, we're just sending them over the trench and saying, good luck, brothers. See you on the other side. The AA is for the wasps. The mutants have these swarms of wasps that come in their waves, or they build them too. Yeah, it's a cool, I think its purpose is just to build trenches. It's great. It can build little generators. It can also build little warehouses. So if you control group that support vehicle with your, your supply depots, you can spam out warehouses really quickly, eat a radius around it. I'll show you that as well. We don't need super weapons where we're going. Classic reference, one of my favorite movies of all time. When I met my wife, one of the ways that I knew that she was for me was that she enjoyed Event Horizon more than I did. Yeah, so you just plop down the Silatch, plop down a crane and move on. You don't even need to commit your MCV to that task, because you cannot replace the MCV, so it is a critical unit, and it's, I guess, not really worth risking on the front line unless you have secured the area completely. But doing this, just as effective. So for each supply depot I have built, I can build one warehouse at a time. Yes, it is possible to rotate buildings, but not all of them. We're up against the map edge here. Don't build that one there, we'll block him in. Yeah, we've seen the nuke. They just didn't give me access to it. I don't have the clearance yet. Something about they don't trust low-level commanders with the keys to the nuke, or something.
But we will get access. Yes, we can upgrade the trench. It was a great revelation the other night. We had some Death Corps of Krieg supporters just screaming for trenches, and then when we upgraded it, they lost their collective minds. Alright, so the battery's ready. You select it, set it to a command group, and then click the little button down the bottom and change it to a shield, to defensive mode. Then get a spotter, get him to danger, try to keep him alive for 10 seconds while he lasers the target, and then watch the fireworks. But I'm going to build a second artillery battery. This one I will have as small rounds, light artillery support. So the tiny little square around it can repair vehicles, as far as I'm aware, and then it has a button that you press for infantry, I believe. I'm pretty sure that tiny little square is like the crane in that it can repair when something's near it. The infantry barracks can do the same thing, but once I build the infantry, they aren't usually coming back. So it's kind of like we just let them think they have health cover. You have to micro the Brems, which makes them obsolete in my view, but these things you don't have to micro repair, so they are more useful. And I'm not sure the cost difference, but yeah, I would say that this thing can do everything except recover rebel vehicles. And I'm just saving up airstrikes now. We have 4 in the bank. And as I build these warehouses, our infantry barracks are just filling up. Yeah, the pathfinding's pretty good. The only issues I've had with it are with harvesters. When you have more than one going to the same processing plant. So in my experience, it's not yet worth using more than one combine per processing plant because they get tied up on each other. And I would only do it if your harvesters have a long way to travel. I am an infantry enjoyer. I love infantry play in most games. That's what I was most excited for when Broken Arrow was coming out. And there's another game I play a lot of, Terminator Dark Fate Defiance, which is like Men at War, but your infantry squads have like RPG kind of mechanics where they level up, they have different gear and all that sort of stuff. Really, really good RTS. If you haven't seen it, I suggest checking it out. And coincidentally, it's the same composer, so all the music in Terminator Dark Fate Defiance, just like this. Gritty and real. If you haven't seen it, check out some of my content on that. One of my favorite games that I stream all the time. And you get to kill clankers. Okay, so the Brems will be getting an auto repair feature. Cool. Good to know. That will instantly make them more useful. Yeah, I think that pathfinding issue that you've just mentioned is what I've experienced with the harvesters. Especially if your processing plants are tightly packed, you've got to give them some space. There's a heap of RTS games coming out at the moment. There's Dorf, which is looking really cool. There's another one called Dig In, I think it's called. Dig or Dig In. Set in World War I where you have to, it's trench warfare. Still playing this? Yes, I am. It probably will be the last time I play it until it comes out. If I can win now, there's no more challenge.
Worst opinion haver, your name checks out. Dawn of War 4, yeah. Total War 40k. I've reserved my judgment for that one, but I am quietly excited. Yeah, Dig In kind of reminds me of another game I was playing. What was that called? Where you had to build an airfield. Terrible, I can't remember the name. Too much going on. Ground of Aces, that's right. Oh yes, I was interested in the card survival game too, wasn't I, Luna? Hello, Luna. Welcome. I sound like a Chad. Am I good looking? Well, I wouldn't consider myself good looking, but my wife, she tells me all the time that I am wrong. It means Commander. As in, welcome back, Commander. Why don't you have this enemy in the demo? You absolutely do. It's the Mutants. And you do have trenches. I have heard of Beyond All Reason. I haven't yet played it though. I've heard nothing but good things from it. Yeah, it's a little bit crowded around here, Luna. We've had a change of pace here at the stream. Luna is one of my regulars that watches nearly every night. All the various adventures we have. There's our fire support coming in, courtesy of the Spotter's forward observer job. Let's have a look. They're getting loaded. There they go. Sent with good tidings. Here we go again. Where are you going to land? Nobody knows. Take a that. Alright, so I did a little bit of a breakout here to try and clear up that zone. We used our mobile guys that haven't yet been committed to a role. But sticking to the rules, they're not allowed to deploy while they're outside the lines. Because what's a challenge without self-imposed rules? Yo, long artillery, about to rain down on these suckers. They will not live forever. And they will just keep shooting now for as long as I want them to, or until we give them another target. So if you have all the MLRS, you can set down a zone of just permanent fire, and it fills the whole map because the scatter is real. Is Beyond All Reason finished, or is it like an ongoing project, or is it in early access? I don't know too much about it. I wanted to like Planetary Annihilation, and the concept was great, but I felt like the execution was a bit bleh. Theoretically, yes, you could hit your own planes with artillery. Someone told me that it's possible. Yeah, we were making jokes the other day about Falling Frontier, about how we wish-listed it 85 years ago. I'm super excited to see it, but at this stage, no sign of it. And I'm on pretty good terms with Hooded Horse. I've been asking them for about 6 months if there's any news, but they're tight-lipped. It's a free game and it's open source. Okay, nice. I will have to look at it then. Using up all of those stocked up airstrikes. Someone shared an animation with me the other day that was basically that bomber. It was made like 10 years ago, the animation. I'll be able to find it, mate. Yeah, no worries. I can do that. Alright, so our Howitzers, you've done a great job clearing that zone. I haven't quite figured out how to stop them. I think you can just press S, but we'll let them fire once more. Synchronized fire. Bombers on the way home, stacking up some points. Yeah, it's a bit of a contest between them and Slytherin, between who can get the most strategy games in their portfolio. And then you've got micropros coming out of nowhere as well, trying the same. So there is a bit of resurgence for that, like, middle level publisher. I reckon anyone within, say, a kilometre of those guns going off is dead. Everyone's killed by overpressure. We keep working on this little warehouse node. I just finished Dreadnoughts 2 recently. I really enjoyed it. I was a little bit disappointed that they implemented that UFO delegation mechanic, but then when I finished the campaign I recognised that it probably saved me about 10 or 15 hours of UFO breaches. Paradox still have the most DLC too. After this stream, we're going to stream again. I'm going to play a game called Star Miner, which came out of nowhere for me, and it looks like a good mix between hard space shipbreaker, what else? It's kind of like what I was hoping for Falling Frontier, a little bit of Elite Dangerous, a whole heap of stuff. You get to space engineers, you get to build your own fleets of ships. It'll be a much more sedate pace, for sure. Nebulous campaign, hey? I bought that game when it first came out into early access. I haven't played a great deal of it, I was letting it cook. Have I heard of Iron Nest? I actually played the demo the other day, before it came out. You can check that out. It was about 90 minutes of ranging and civilian destruction, rebel destruction. The Castile Convention is that no rebels are allowed to exist. Glory to Castile. Hard Space Shipbreaker is such a chill game. It's like the perfect male meditation. Like, most of us like tinkering with machines. We all like big, workings of wondrous machines, and just being able to pull them apart is so cathartic. Oh, it's cooperative campaign. That's an interesting prospect. Alright, the second artillery battery is ready. This one is just Dreadnoughts, but it's going to provide the light firepower we need. And we're going to go on a mission. Don't bring that guy with us. Those Howitzers are still raining pain down on that section. So we'll have a battery of 12 light artillery, if you want to call them that, and 5 large guns. I remember the first time I played Iron Nest, everyone's like, why didn't you use the tear gas on them? Why are you using high explosive on the rebels? I'm like, bro, if I don't do this now, we're going to have to deal with them tomorrow. So we used a high capacity, high explosive and just took out everything. The demo's a little bit more tailored now, and they control what you can do. So you can't lob high capacity, high explosive in that first mission anymore. And no, I haven't tried out Tabletop Tavern. This game has actually been dominating my mind lately, but that is another one we need to look at. It looks like it's got some unique twists on the Total War formula, like similar enough to be familiar, but its own thing entirely. Yes, I do it all. I take my job seriously when it comes to dealing with enemies of the crown. Yes. HE is the way to go. It means that if your enemies survive, they have a giant hole they have to try and crawl out of. So yeah, we are outside the walls and we're actually making a difference. We are doing our part. These infantry are not going to live forever, but the sniper is going to try and get into position to designate a new target. You need a screening force to go with them. I was trying to do it with solo snipers the other day, but the bugs and the mutants don't care. They will chew on you. And I found that the best way is just to put your spotter on guard mode so that he doesn't get bogged down trying to shoot things while he's moving towards his target. Alright. Laser target designate. Grid coordinates on my bearing. There we go. Open fire, Bessie. So we've got 2 calibers about to rain down on them. Danger close, danger close. Just don't cross that line or we're gonna get killed. So they cross the line anyway. We're trying to get another... oh wow, the Howitzers dropped in on our formation and the infantry got splattered. And so yeah, we don't need to worry about moving our units across the map when they can just stay home. Our artillery pieces, why put them close to the front when the front can be brought to them? And sorry, I missed your message right in there at the swamp there, Luna. You're working on Road Traeger's third DLC. How's that treating you? A giant eyeball consuming my resources. And like I said before, these things, if you don't destroy their ruins, they start spawning flies out of them at a rapid rate. I know it might seem tedious, but you're probably better off just watching how I built it as I built it to get a sense of when it was built and why we built it. Even if you just watch it at double speed or something like that. All of my streams are available as VODs. Here's a screenshot potential. I hope you all got a screen cap of that. That's firepower. There's nothing better than a feeling of having a fire base the enemy can't touch, but you can reach out and touch them all day. Like an adult fighting a toddler at arm's length. That should be a GIF, yeah. Do a GIF. The spotter ability is linked to units on defensive mode, guard mode. So in the unit card you set them from aggressive to defensive, and anyone that's on defensive mode will shoot at the spotter's target. So then my frontline guns will stay still on their mission, which is to defend the line. The other night we set all of the guns in the entire base to defensive mode, and we were unleashing the entire base across the map. But that left me exposed to attacks, and so we actually had a breach in the fence when I was doing that. So that's why this time I've just set aside a dedicated fire base. So you were scrolling down YouTube and someone mentioned that the siege tanks and dreadnoughts are actually representing the real-life doctrine called screen off. Yeah, I can see that. The Dreadnoughts range is infinite if you put them on guard mode and then use a spotter to designate the target. They will keep shooting at the target. Yeah, all the Amazon warehouses, all of the dust masks that we could find. No, I don't believe that dreadnoughts that are moving are affected. It's only the stationary artillery. So the Molot also I don't believe can do it. But I should test that at some point. I'm going to upgrade these to Howitzers now. We saw how cool it is to have 4 triple guns firing. We brought our own warship. That is literally a battleship's worth of guns. Good chances are that they're clones anyway, so they don't actually exist legally. I remember the Juggernauts. Yes, the Juggernauts could do that with the sniper. And it was a very, very powerful ability when you could get it to go off. But when you play competitively, most of the time the enemy would focus your Juggernauts because they knew just how powerful it could be. We have destroyed more than half of their factories, and you'll notice that the intensity of their attacks is diminished greatly. So there is something to be said about an early strike against their production capacity to try and alleviate the pressure. It's only happening on this map because we actually have landmarks that are funneling them towards us. We got very lucky on the map spawn, and there is 2 structures in the center of map that's funneling them to us. The other night when we were playing, they were flanking the crap out of me. Flanking and spanking. We got really lucky with this spawn. I got all the resources. We got 2 structures in the center that have been funneling them to the center of the line. And because we destroyed the stuff on the left side of the map, the pressure on the left side is almost nothing now. It's just worms and crap. But if you are unlucky and get a map where it's all open ground, you'll find that they will flank you. They will try and angle around. No, we made a rule, Google. We made a rule that I wasn't going to use my artillery as anything but a static defense like the Maginot Line, and I'm only allowed to use them as indirect fire by spotters. But I am almost at the point now where I'm going to finish this out. I want to get my supplies up to about 2,000, build the army, and then we're going to go. So I've got a total of 9 howitzers, which are going to offer the fire support we need without ever leaving the base. Yeah, like I said, you get really lucky. And I have discovered that you can use the terrain to your advantage. You can blow up structures to make block paths and funnel the horde towards your base. You just got to be careful not to then destroy the ruins that you've created. So the first couple of nights I didn't really see the nuances of the strategy here, but there are tactics and strategies that you can put into play besides the way you build your base. From my experience, the infantry have to walk around the trenches, but things like Cerberus will just roll up to them and destroy them. And your units can just drive over the top of them. We got really lucky in that we had the city here in the middle of our base, which I have kept most of the buildings garrisoned. And while you may not have seen it, they have been extremely effective. We just dump out some units now out of that tower, we no longer need it. The best cure for a skin tag is some floss, wrap it around and strangle it. If you've got the stomach for it. Suffer not the mutant flesh on the body. How do you use the Dreadnoughts for indirect fire? You click on the Dreadnought, you set it to guard mode, you use a spotter and activate his spot ability pressing E. Everything that's in guard mode will shoot across the map and destroy your enemy. I haven't found trenches to be overly useful. I've simply built them just to keep the trench lovers happy. Not at this difficulty anyway. I don't think their effort is worth the reward. Things are coming together nicely. I'm trying to get a team of spotters in close. If I can get snipers up against that factory wall, we can spot over it and destroy everything on the other side. The aircraft, I can see why they've done it. Aircraft are always a strategic asset, and so the aircraft are limited by how much I funnel towards them. I don't think it makes sense to have an airfield on the front line at the trenches. I know that Command & Conquer did it, but it always sort of rubs me the wrong way. My preference, BTRs and infantry. Yes, 100% mines. Give us mines. Those are the armoured cars. They've been upgraded at the War Factory. So they're basically ZSUs now. And these Tentacles are actually quite dangerous. And here comes the danger close artillery. Sorry boys, this spider there hiding around the corners just got blasted by a Cerberus. Woohoo! Hearing damage is not service related. We also don't take responsibility for bronchitis or any other type of lung issue. No, you cannot use spotters inside the BTR, so you just got to get them to the front with a BTR, jump out. You've got to have enough stuff there to aggro the enemy while your spotter does his job. We're going to do the spotting here. We're going to try and see if we can target something on the other side of this structure. There we go, boom, landing home, very nice. So units do shoot from inside the BTR, do they? I hadn't actually noticed that. So that's 9 Howitzers just raining death down on the other side of that structure. If we blow up this pipe here, we can create a barricade where the mutants will not get through. See, now it's all collapsing. If we pull back, that's going to funnel the mutants around down the center. So don't destroy them. And cancel your artillery if it looks like they're going to blow up. Yep, so that is a solid blockade now. And in my experience, the mutants won't try to shoot it or get around it. So I'm going to stop all the fire. Stop the fire mission with S. Hey, thanks for the sub, we're told. The infantry changed the BTR's weapon, do they? Are they like an allied IFV? Okay. That's interesting. Well, it's looking like we're going to have 4 factions. Rebels, robots, mutants, and the Umis. The Empirical Guard. Because it's all about numbers. We're on the home straight now. We're just using Spec Ops teams here to destroy the base. Alright, we got the call in. Here comes the artillery. Make it rain, baby. We could even block up another path here. There we go. More pipes are down. And so the funnel is set. But the next round of artillery is probably going to destroy that. Oh, the rebels won't be playable. Oh, that's sad. They should be. Because why not? Oh, look at all the eyeballs! They've run out of stuff to collect because I've hogged all the resources. Thank you very much. That's fine, we've got more... I was in the mindset of trying to keep my spotters alive, but I've since realized their only job is to get to the target, laze it, and that's it. Their job's complete, their use is done after that. We're going to use up all of our airstrikes now. We have potential here to be able to earn a few more, actually. Now you see how those collectors have died and they're spraying out gas? They're just going to spawn flies relentlessly now, so you need to kill the ruins too, unless you want to have to deal with the ultimate fly apocalypse. Hey, thanks for the sub, Beefo. Trying to move this airstrike zone, it must have a limited movement range, but you can reposition them before the aircraft arrives. Hey, take that, meatball. That's a spicy meatball. But that's the whole point. They're just the flesh. They're just biomass accumulating. They are the body horror rather than cosmic horror. You don't need to know what it is to know that it's not supposed to be alive. The MLRS is really good for crowd control and setting down area of denial, but you can't build them yet. So if you lose the ones you brought with you, it's done, and that's what happened to me. I've lost mine, they are gone. But it seems, look, so that those two pipes we've dropped now are now funneling even more down the center. I couldn't tell you how it performs on a lower spec PC, but I haven't seen much in the way of complaints in terms of... That doesn't mean that it doesn't work. I'm not sure. I'm not the one to ask that question, unfortunately. Thanks very much for the sub, guys. Welcome to the stream. We are looking like we're about to finish up. We just need to set up the attack force, set up a few more fire missions. Probably I'll set up one last good batch of warehouses, I think. Try and push us up to 2,000. So I'm doing a little bit of both, large and small warehouses. I don't feel like I need to use the rest of my parts, so I'll spend them on large warehouses. Yes, you can grab the demo now on Steam for at least a week. Make sure when you look on Steam it's the Dustfront demo. The Dustfront store page is not linked to the demo, it's its own store page. Alright, so we've got some word in that it's very well optimized for lower end rigs. In my experience, these sorts of games are built from the ground up to be pretty optimized. It's just the bigger developers that tend to push everyone towards needing a newer PC. Yeah, the supply depots cost too much power and only give you a tiny bit of supply. The little warehouses only give you a little bit of supply, but they don't cost much. The large ones cost parts, but they save time and effort. The BTRs are trying to slay all the worms, but that's a lot of maggots. We're almost to 2,000. Let's spend it. The army's on auto build now, and we're basically not going to run out of money. So I don't think we're not even really taking attacks. So for all intents and purposes, about an hour ago we could have started creeping our towers up, but I've made a point of not using them for the assault because I have one already doing that. And I think that we have enough mass here now to finish off the enemy. Calling in fire missions where needed, calling in air support, and you can also call in air support from the back line. Say, bring in a bomber heading southwards to expose the enemy base, and then call in other air supports on those buildings that have been revealed, and you can destroy some of the back line that way. It's worthwhile doing if you have extra support. I couldn't tell you when the full release is going to be. I very much only got access to this game early because I was proactive and reached out and said, can I play it please? In terms of being privy to any news about the game, unfortunately not, but I am trying to be remembered, if that makes sense. I'm like, hey guys, remember me when the news comes out. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. The little warehouses do require a lot of micro, and I recommend if you're going to build them to set up your supply depots in a control group so that you can just spam the key. But we are there. And now we just got to do the fighting. And see, all those dead collectors are just spawning flies and maggots. Rare napalm strike. So at the moment, my armies are literally just existing to help my spotters have time to do a mission. It's literally all the army's there for. But yeah, you could absolutely set up area of denial with your spotters just so that one pass to your base is just completely unapproachable because of constant artillery fire. Yeah, the worms are a pain. They splat entire infantry squads in one go. One big slap of the worm. Yeah, control group for buildings is more useful than control group for allies and units, I think. Just use F2 to select all your combat units. As long as you've got a combined arms army, you should be okay. At this difficulty, it's not worth microing them all. Just try and have the eco to support the losses. Just like in Supreme Commander style games. Losses are inevitable and expected. Once you're over the wire, you're not coming home, boys. So I've been less cinematic in my camera control, I do apologize for that, but I'm just concentrating on winning the fight tonight. I was all spectacle the other night, and it cost us some lives. Yeah, there is friendly fire between all units. So the slappy, phallic-looking tentacle does not discriminate. And this is where I was talking about. You can call in bombers from the north, and once you've exposed their factories, bring in extra bombers. This will help you limit their ability to outproduce you, because once you start cornering them up in the corner, all of their production is focused in that section, and it actually becomes harder to find them. So we just try and break their backs now. We're not using big units. I know it sounds sad, but they're actually going to provide fire support from where they are. Ace of Spades, how you going, mate? I understand it's been very busy here. I'm glad you're still watching us. I appreciate your support, by the way, mate. Thank you very much for your membership. That long-range thing has to be set. It is an intended tactical play. It doesn't just happen. So I've got to use a spotter. I'm trying to do it right now, getting close enough to target into the enemy base, and then all of our designated artillery pieces will launch everything they have. Fire mission go. So let's try and hit here. There's a mass of those collectors. Once the circle disappears, the fire mission is go. And we're going to probably... There they go. We missed the launch. But we won't miss the splashdown. There it is. So you don't need to bring your artillery to the front. You bring your front to the artillery. And in a multiplayer game that would be too broken, so I can see why they can just let us play single player and go all in on the overpowered. Like, imagine trying to counter that. No thanks. I'm not going to bring my tanks with me, unfortunately. There you go. That was them shooting. Yeah, we're leaving the artillery at home. That was one of the rules for this stream. We're going to actually use them as artillery. The thing is, once it's set, it doesn't stop. So I think that's what would be the OP thing about it. They just keep shooting in that zone. So you would effectively make that part of the enemy's base unlivable. Ten factories remaining. We have them on the ropes. It looks like our economy is holding up well with this constant production. 2,200 units worth of supplies. We could have won it quicker if we had been more aggressive with our units, but yeah, this is a proof of concept. And then we have a wall of molots to clean up anything the other guys miss. Shake it, baby. Alright, time for another target with our snipers. The objective is to take the points, but I just like to destroy the enemy and then take the points. Move the MCV up there to grab that one for me. Pushing into the final straight. We've set the fire mission, just pull back. Pull back, pull back, pull back. Alright, set. Oh no, move! Just delete that general direction. From my information, there is no multiplayer at release. And I don't think it's a priority at all. He's just trying to get it out the gate in a very playable fashion. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I can see why you guys are excited for multiplayer. But I'm just enjoying these toys. The power fantasy of being able to send artillery like that downrange for massive effect. We'll just hide here behind this structure and wait for our fire mission to complete. I might have to call it again. Light artillery, bio artillery, firing back. Laser designation. Spotter has set the target. Fire mission is active. Here they come! And so that's our super weapon. Until we get the real one. And so I can see you all now just wanting to build like 90 of those. If I see videos with people using like 30 or 40 of those artillery pieces, I'll know why. Here they come. It looks like the batteries are split into 2 salvos, which is probably better. A 4 and a 5. But things are winding down now. The intensity is dropping. So are the shells. If you are enjoying this content, guys, make sure to hit the like button for me. It would really help out. You would be doing your part. And if you would like to see more great strategy content, make sure to hit subscribe. I won't be shy in saying that I have aspirations. But I do appreciate all of your company. It's been great having a full stream the last 3 nights. You're gonna do your part? Thank you. You won't live forever, but you will be remembered fondly. Hey, hey, the reinforcements are on the way. I personally think that this would be a great multiplayer game, but I can understand just how much work that would involve for one single person. And so I hope that all this attention will allow him to scale up or scale out. Because honestly, as a long-time strategy fan, I want great games. I want to be able to say, hey, these are the way I felt about games back when I was a kid. The wonder, the power fantasy. You're creating of your own little lore in your head as to why this base looks this way it does. Why your mission is put together the way it is. For me, gaming is very creative as well. They are horrible mutants that gave into their lust for perfection. It's almost like a Slanesh faction. All the tentacles and gross eyes. They are trillions no more. And the fourth industrial empire is making a name for itself. With this success, hopefully, I get the keys to the super weapons in the next engagement. You know, imagine if this was like Hearts of Iron 4, but you got to fight all your battles on this level. That would be the perfect game. Now, I'm not going to play this game again for 8 hours like I did the other night. I'm going to do streams in shorter bursts, okay guys? Because I found it quite draining. I needed to have a day off after playing this for 8 hours. At that intensity. But after the stream finishes, there'll be a short break and then I'll be playing something a little bit more chill. We'll be heading across to Star Miner. We'll build our own fleet of epic ships. So if you'd like to see that, drop on by. As if that wasn't satisfying, being able to take the ground step by step. Our artillery never saw a threat. They were completely safe the whole time and being used extremely effectively. Oh, absolutely, yeah. This would be an extremely powerful tactic. Yeah, it's... I will say that if you've ever played any of the top strategy games of the 90s and early 2000s, then something in this game will remind you. I am seeing inspirations from a variety of sources, and StarCraft, Supreme Commander, They Are Billions, and Command & Conquer are my four main games that I'm seeing similarities from. We got a heap of friendly fire here because the spotter is trying to redirect that fire mission. The flies, you need anti-infantry. A couple of BTRs will kill them. Or even just upgrade your infantry stat and get them to massed infantry through the barracks. Headphone warning, holy crap, sorry. Holy crap, I just broke my eardrums. We broke everything that wasn't tied down. Piling, steaming, massive goo left behind. We're going to need the flamethrowers to get rid of all this mess. We are almost there. We just have to hold the points now. No Titan units yet, besides the Dreadnoughts and their Howitzer buddies. And we have victory. Let's have a quick look at the stats. 10-4 successful. Thanks very much for watching, guys. You're all legends. That was probably the hardest difficulty we've had to deal with. Oh, I'm just going to stretch. But yeah, great game, great demo. Like I said, a demo that keeps you coming back for more is a sign of a title that has extreme amounts of promise. I'm usually pretty reserved with my judgments and my opinions, but I feel like this has real promise. And I think that we will see great things from this title if it's given the time to cook properly. Like I said, guys, hit like and subscribe, and I will see you again. I'm going to try and think of a new way that we can make a tactic interesting, but I really hope you enjoyed my big frickin' gun playthrough. Until next time, Commander Tyrael out. And I think this is our biggest stream ever, so once again, thank you very much.